Hello friends, today I want to answer the question for you, are short-term rentals allowed in Miami? Now, Florida has always been a great place for investing in real estate, but what about short-term rentals in Miami? Well, by the end of this video, you're going to have a complete understanding of whether or not you can legally operate a short-term rental in Miami and what steps you need to take to make sure that you're fully compliant with the local and state rules and regulations. Now, there's a gentleman that I know that's part of a mastermind group that I'm a part of that is making a lot of money in real estate in Miami, and he's doing it traditionally flipping homes, but recently he just bought a short-term rental. So it got me thinking, and I wonder if you've been curious yourself, can Miami be a great place to own a short-term rental? And maybe what does it take to get licensed and to avoid hefty fines? Well, stay tuned as I roll into this video. I will first help you understand the rules and regulations associated with owning and operating a short-term rental in Miami. Next, I will go over the pros and cons of operating a short-term rental in Miami. And finally, I'll let you know if it's worth pursuing or if there are better markets that you should consider when you're thinking about owning and operating a short-term rental. If you are ready, let's go. Whenever I look into different states and municipalities when I'm looking to own or operate a short-term rental, I'm always amazed at the differences from one place to the next. Some areas make it super simple, almost too simple, where other areas make it almost impossible. And I understand the challenges. As they say, the struggle is real. As an owner and operator of 5 short-term rentals, I can appreciate why some things are a challenge. If you allow an area to become oversaturated with short-term rentals, it doesn't just hurt the residents, but it can potentially hurt the other short-term rental owners. I've seen Blue Ridge, Georgia become fairly oversaturated, as I have with Broken Bow, Oklahoma. When we first bought short-term rentals there, it looked like a great investment and it's still producing good income every single year. But the oversaturation of these areas has made it more challenging to be able to own and operate. Now, I understand that's the nature of competition, and we've done things to stand out and be unique, which you have to do. You have to be able to adapt when competition enters the market. But there comes a point where you say, okay, there's got to be some sort of regulation to prevent this whole place from becoming one big short-term rental community. So there is a balance of making it not completely impossible to own one, but not so simple that anybody can do it. And there have been a few states and municipalities that have got it right. So let's talk Miami, Florida, specifically for short-term rentals. Now, of course, they're allowed in Miami, but once again, there are certain rules that apply. Now, in order to own and operate short-term rentals in Miami, you have to understand the zoning. And once again, certain zones allow and certain zones don't allow for short-term rentals in Miami. A short-term rental or a vacation rental is defined as the following: any dwelling that is rented for 30 days or less. It seems to be pretty standard in most of the states and quite a few of the municipalities. Now, operators must comply to a certain amount of things: occupancy limits, guest registration requirements, and parking restrictions, which sound pretty basic. And additionally, they must comply with local requirements when it comes to waste disposal, noise, public nuisance, pets, and advertising. In certain areas of Miami with short-term rentals, the owner must reside in the property for at least 6 months to make it a legal short-term rental. And as with most places, Florida requires a business and professional registration license. You got to register with the proper tax authorities, and you have to get a certificate of use with Miami-Dade County. And that CU application requires the proper licensing, tax registration, insurance coverage, and if applicable, notification to homeowners or condominium association organizations. So now that we understand what it takes just to get the process going with short-term rentals in Miami, let's talk about some of the pros and cons. So here are some of the benefits and good news when it comes to Miami associated with short-term rentals. Number one, Miami has a very balanced real estate market, meaning there are good rental rates and a thriving economy, and lots of great tax benefits for real estate investors. You know, I've seen that be the case for Florida for quite some time. I'm part of this real estate mastermind group, and we actually meet in Tampa. And I've seen so many of these real estate professionals that do this for their living, where they're real estate investors. I've seen so many start to move to Florida because of the benefits, both tax-wise, as well as the nature and thriving economy in Florida as an opportunity to continue to make money investing in real estate in that state of Florida. Another bonus is that travel trends are expected to grow in Miami. So owning and operating a short-term rental in Miami, it's projected that tourism and just overall the economy as a thriving unit is going to increase. Now let's talk about some of the cons or some of the negatives about owning a short-term rental in Miami. Now there are certain ordinances in place in the city of Miami to protect its residents and communities, which I totally understand, but they also are balancing that tourism thrives in those areas. And I always recommend to people, if you are looking to start a short-term rental business in Miami, you need to read up on Miami's short-term rental laws and regulations. Just understanding what areas allow for owner-occupied short-term rentals, which areas require the owner to be there at least 6 months of the year and can rent out the other 6 months, or what areas and zones allow complete short-term rentals unoccupied. And just to help you understand, here's a couple of noteworthy restrictions when it comes to short-term rentals in the city of Miami. The maximum occupancy for vacation rentals or short-term rentals in Miami is 2 persons per bedroom, plus 2 additional people per property. The maximum occupancy is 12 people, but that excludes children that are 3 years or younger. Now let's break that down really quick. So if you have a rental that has maybe 3 bedrooms, obviously 2 people per bedroom is allowed, which is 6, plus 2, which is 8 people maximum that could stay at that property. Now, obviously, if you have more bedrooms or less bedrooms, you need to adjust for that regulation and that restriction. And obviously, children under 3 do not count towards that. I've seen a similar thing in an area where I own a short-term rental close to Yellowstone National Park in Island Park, Idaho. There's been a recent discussion underway at city and county council meetings where the county is starting to propose we will only allow 3 people per bedroom to stay at these residences. Now here's the challenge, and you can probably appreciate this, especially if you're looking to buy a short-term rental in Miami and it's close to the beach, because a lot of times people have no problem staying in a bunk bed that might be on a balcony or even in a room that could host maybe 4 to 6 people, especially if they're kids or teenagers between the ages of 4 and 18. And in Island Park, when they said this, all of a sudden these individuals who had bought a cabin up close to Yellowstone National Park that had 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, but they had a large loft that was lined with bunk beds, and they were advertising that they could host 15, 16 people in this 2-bed, 2-bath, now could only host 6 people. The income they were expecting when they could host 15 people versus 6 goes drastically down. And the value of that home goes from here down to here. Many people fought violently against this. So as of right now, nothing has been resolved, but it's something they're currently discussing. And here's one of the reasons they did it, which I understand. If you think about it, 15 people in a 2-bed, 2-bath, utilizing those bathrooms, the sewer system, the water well could become a challenge and potentially become contaminated. And they've seen some of those things happen. That's why they're looking to increase and enforce regulation to not allow so many people stay in there, to put the burden on that type of sewer system. So to finalize, here is what AirDNA says about the city of Miami when it comes to owning short-term rentals. And here's my analysis. So if we look at the average home price in Miami, it's anywhere between $600,000 to $800,000. Now I know that's a big discrepancy, but there are some places that have homes really expensive and some that are much lower in price. And AirDNA says that the average income on short-term rentals is $52,000 a year. And it gives it an AI market score of 84. Now that's an AI score that generates how good it is based on a scale of 1 to 100. So 84 is a pretty good score. But once again, I look at my general rule of thumb when it comes to this. I want my annual rents to be at least 10% of the purchase price. So if the average rents annualized for short-term rentals in Miami is $52,000, and even the lowest average of a purchase price is $600,000, that's not going to work. Those numbers will not work. Now, if you found something that is producing great income and it's doing $80,000, $90,000 a year, and you can get a short-term rental for $600,000, $650,000, that could potentially work. But I would still believe there are probably better areas in the United States that are going to generate more income and have a much better ratio of annual rents to purchase price than Miami, Florida. But I'd be interested in your feedback. What do you think about Miami when it comes to a short-term rental market? Give me your feedback. I'd love to engage in a dialogue, so leave a comment below. And as always, just for stopping by and watching this video, I have a free gift for you. It's actually a short-term rental calculator where you put in the purchase price, the income, the expenses, and it will actually spit out to you whether it is a good deal or not. And it's 100% free, no obligations. Just click on the link below, aaronsfreetraining.com. And once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an amazing day.